With Deliverect, co-founder and CEO Zhong is connecting food delivery platforms with restaurants' point-of-sale system. Deliverect is helping the hospitality industry by providing user-friendly and innovative software. With the food delivery industry booming, cloud kitchens are on the rise. We're at the dawn of a new restaurant era, an era where dark kitchen will become a common term.
Okay, it has been spooky season just a while ago, but dark kitchens, it's not anything spooky, not horrific, nothing like that. That's true, right? Our next guest who's online right now. Hi, how are you doing?
Hi there.
Hey.
Good evening.
So, nothing horrific about dark kitchens, right?
No, definitely not. I think in this space, or today with COVID hitting, I think it's one of the ways of restaurants surviving. So Deliverect, as the intro mentioned, is a software that helps a restaurant to sell on, Deliveroo, Uber Eats, takeaway, and so on. And what we saw is there's a massive shift of restaurant business now opening more locations that is delivery or takeaway only. Right, so that in essence is a dark kitchen. So a dark kitchen is a takeaway restaurant where there's no dine-in. But the biggest difference here is that these dark kitchens or cloud kitchens have a lot of online channels, as well a lot of virtual brands. So enabling them to really survive this period and sell thousands of dishes every month to these consumers.
Yeah.
And I think what's also very interesting is that this market was growing phenomenal in the takeaway delivery space. But then if you really look at the global dark kitchen space, in 2019 was 43 billion, and it's, growing with a rate of 20-30% year over year. And, there's a lot of numbers out there, but it's a massive growing business.
Yeah, so that's the shift that you notice, that dark kitchens are becoming more and more popular, more and more, in the mainstream, as it were. Why would someone start a dark kitchen?
Well, it's evident today because you can't sell dine-in, right? Because with the lockdown happening everywhere. But there's also a very valid reason why this transformation happened before. Imagine if you want to open a restaurant and you need to invest around 300,000 euros to set up one. For a fraction of the cost, 1/5, for 60, 70,000 euros, you can probably set up a kitchen that you can operate, cooking the dishes from. And what's really interesting there is that instead of selling one type of food, you can sell multi-brand. So this is the model behind it. So you can imagine that if you have one brand and you're selling at one channel, it brings X number of euros in revenue. But if you have 4 or 5 different brands and you're on 3 channels, it means that you have 15 online platforms that generate revenue. And each of these revenue is interesting to grow. And operational-wise, it's less or not as much work as you think. Because a good example is if you're a sushi type of restaurant, you probably can make sushi as well as poke bowls or, maybe some ramen, as well other dishes. So you see a lot of these kitchens where a chef is making 4, 5 virtual brands, then selling on 4, 5 online channels. So this results in exponential growth of revenue, and often it's multiple times higher than a normal restaurant. So this is really revolutionizing, I would say, this industry, because your investment is 1/5, but then you're getting twice or triple the normal revenue of a restaurant, and it's super scalable, allowing you to experiment. And of course, with COVID, also, it's the only way of selling these days.
Yeah, because like you said, it's the point of view now from restaurateurs and chefs of doing it this way. Is the public ready for this kind of kitchen, for this kind of service?
Yeah, definitely. I want to share some stats. I mean, pre-COVID, between 18 and 35-year-olds, around 60-70% were doing delivery on a regular basis, so at least once a week, right? Now, after the COVID, we saw that increasing to 90%. So that's immense, between 18 and 35 years old. Also interesting, it's 35 to 55-year-olds before was 40% pre-COVID. Today it's 65, 70%. Right? So there's a massive shift. And then even if you look at the 55 years older people, pre-COVID, nobody did that. It was under 10% doing takeaway delivery on platforms. Today, that has increased to 30%. So what does that tell you is that your end customer of your restaurant is having a different way of ordering food, having a different way of, getting things consumed. So you as a restaurant or brand need to follow that. And we see this at a massive scale because we run, from KFC to Burger King, but as well, a lot of these top brands. And you see definitely these days a change where instead of investing more in physical locations, they would invest into, a brand store, a ship store, flagship store in a city, but then surround it with a lot of smaller delivery kitchens because the investment is way lower and the return is way more interesting.
Yeah, you mentioned COVID as a really supporting factor that this is booming right now. But I guess, when COVID has gone away, people perhaps would visit restaurants more often than they are able to now. Aren't you afraid that this kind of dark kitchen, that it's gonna decrease instead of increase, or can a chef maintain that level of attraction to the dark kitchen?
Well, first of all, I really hope that we all can go back to restaurants and have a drink and beer and get some food.
As do we all.
That being said, I think what you see, it's a recurring trend. So this happened pre-COVID, right? It's since 2017, 2018, the market of delivery and takeaway was growing at a rate yearly on 25%. It just has now accelerated. I think what's common is common food are not going to disappear. For example, a good example, my wife, when she gets the kids at home, she orders on Uber Eats, spaghetti, and before even she gets home, it gets delivered. So you're going to see that there's a lot of convenience that is built in, and the behavior of your end customer is perpetually changed. And COVID will slow down a certain bit, but because of this, you see a way higher, like I explained, adoption at your end customers, and they will not go away because they will be, used to the range of food that they can get at home, but also the convenience of having a daily order food instead of, cooking, especially when it's busy.
Yeah. For argument's sake, let's say that people would be turned off by the dark kitchen concept after COVID. Is there anything that chefs and restaurateurs can do to get those people engaged and stay engaged with the dark kitchen concept?
Yeah, I think one does not rule out the other one. So you can still have, your flagship restaurant where it's a convenience center, but you need to see it that one is complement the other. Because imagine you're making a brand where people know if I go there, have a good time, sometimes they just want to have that food as well delivered. So it's coexist, right? So the one is, flagship store is the complete brand, the image you have, but then you can sell through these dark kitchens way easier. So I think there's a definite world where both coexist. That being said, I think having these kitchens also gives a chef a lot of autonomy, a lot of ways of innovating. You can launch new brands, test things out without, having a big investment where it's all or nothing, right? You see definitely a shift there.
Yeah. Would you suggest to chefs to be doing both, to be having a regular restaurant and then a chain of dark kitchens along the side as a sort of side dish?
Yeah, you can do both. But even if you would do one, most restaurants today that are still open in any of European countries are doing delivery, right? So if you even have one brand, if you do 3 to 4 online channels or even more, we have restaurants doing 8 online channels, that generates significant revenue. So we have a lot of restaurants that are, although they are closed, they're still recuperating 60, 70% of their total restaurant revenue because it has just shifted to online, right? So even pre-COVID, you saw a lot of restaurants doing 20, 30% of their total revenue pure from delivery platform and takeaway platforms. So I think you need to do it at the same time.
Yeah. And this can be something for high-end chefs and for the more affordable restaurants, if I can put it like that as well?
Yes, definitely. We have a couple Michelin chefs now using our platform as well. They're delivering multi-course high-end dinner. No, you're not getting per course a different driver, but they have it packaged, and that works super well as well. So, restaurateurs are entrepreneurs. Think out of the box, and, your customers are there, so find a way to connect with them.
Yeah. That's a good message. Final message, perhaps. What really would they need to do? Is that like presenting what they are doing on a website or social media or whatever to get it all flowing and get it maintain that flow as well?
Oh, it's easy, even easier. I think the goal today is if you have a brand and dishes you create, you just need to have a menu. For example, if we work with Deliverect, we'll help you make that menu and we'll automatically push you online on these delivery platforms. So you can directly sell from the day one on Deliveroo, Uber Eats, Takeaway, Glovo. That's where you're going to get traction. So the setup cost is your brand and cooking the dishes and making sure that you can follow its supply as well packaging.
So it's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win situation.
Definitely.
Okay.
That's the best in the world, right?
Well, thank you very much for that insight and have a great day over there. Thanks for joining us.